back on the Exit 52 podcast. It is Sunday, October 6th, 4:44. Shout out to Jay-Z, 4:44 p.m. My name is Jake Louque. I'm joined by Gentle Spend Crenshaw, somewhere down in the Carolinas in an undisclosed location, cracking a truly, having himself a day. He's back on the beer. I was going to say the booze, but it's the beer specifically, as we're going to learn. He's back on it, and it feels like that has brought the Ravens back. Also joined by my guy Brian, jumping in here as he wraps up his blog. Gentlemen, if I sound 10 years older than I did the last time we spoke, it's probably because of this game. I think there were things happening within my sternum and to my heart that I don't think should be happening to a 29-year-old man. But fuck, man, you got to say, when it ends in a win like that, I got to say it's all worth it. This game had everything except for good defense, really. You could probably say that. But holy shit, what a performance by Lamar Jackson. Great job by Joe Burrow on the other side as well. Couple critical mistakes by both of them near the end, but then really the story of this game to me is going to be that Derrick Henry run and just how the Ravens in the blink of an eye just snatched 3-2 out of thin air, and they handed the Bengals a 1-4 record walking out of Cincinnati. And man, that's going to be very, very, very critical in this division as we go forward here with the Steelers playing later tonight. So huge, huge, huge win for the Ravens, and it couldn't have happened in more dramatic fashion. And guys, I know we've seen some dramatic ones over the years. Brian, where does that rank in the pantheon?
I don't even know. Top 5, maybe. Is my headset working, by the way? Oh no,
it is working beautifully. I'm just laughing because you're like,
yeah. You laughing, but having no noise come through just like rattled me, just totally threw me.
I was just cracking up at you being like, I don't know what's going on right now. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I'm early career Taylor Swift accepting some sort of award up there. Holy shit. There's just so many things that happened in this game. This was the most eventful game I can remember in a long time. Yeah, it's just that was a drunk football game. The defense was so fucking bad. Like on third down, the secondary just couldn't get off the field whatsoever. I can't help. This is one of the first places my mind goes. I can't help but put myself into the shoes of Bengals fans and that whole camp over there of just, that's what that feels like. It feels so good to have somebody else feel that. Because that was a masterclass, and we did our own fair share of things to try to lose this football game. And really, like, the story of the game was that the Bengals were in control of it the whole time. We ceded control to them late in the first half with just shenanigans, just total shenanigans. But Lamar Jackson was the hero. Like, he made maybe the most boneheaded play, or that could have been the story in overtime, and it wasn't. There's a number of things that could have been the story. I'm glad that it's Derrick Henry just finally getting, I mean, he had a few touches there late in the game in overtime, but man, like, I'm just meandering through my thoughts right now. It's just like defense made a play. Like, all they had to do was make one play. Isn't that the dumbest thing ever? Like, they can play so bad, but I mean, I really think of it as 2 plays, the sack to kick off that drive after we made the field goal. Justin Tucker, how about it? How about it? Yeah.
Hitting bombs.
Fucking perfect little fade with the wind.
Yeah. He tried to miss it. He tried to give it to Duck Hook, but it cut back on
off the foot. I was like, oh, he knows exactly what he's doing here. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh man.
You used the perfect word, Brian, which I want to throw up here. And when you said it, it reminded me of shenanigans in Office Space. That was some straight up Jennifer Aniston shenanigans. Put your flair on. John Harbaugh had
shit on the walls and the mozzarella sticks.
John Harbaugh had so many pieces of flair at the end of the first half. And I love that you touched on Justin Tucker first. I love that Joe Burrow's comments ahead of this game were that I need to be perfect. And as you just said, Brian, one play. They made the Ravens defense, meaning they made one play. Marlon Humphrey made one play. I'll say Justin Madubuike too on that.
Madubuike with the sack. Yeah, after that was very nice too. And I mean, honestly, just the fact that they strapped up against that run game, which Zach Taylor, by the way, William Shakespeare once said that cowards die many times. And it's interesting because I feel like as two collective fan bases, we both died several times in this game. We had each moments where it felt like, well, we could have gone and won this thing, but now it's over and we've just got to watch the other team sort of walk it off easily. And man, Zach Taylor, he gets set up on a 1st down and 10, and he essentially settles for a 53-yard field goal. Tough look. That McPherson, great kicker, he probably would have made that if the guy had gotten the snap down correctly. But man, you got to account for everything, and he did not account for everything there, and that's what really would cost him there. But you can keep going, Spenny.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Absolutely. And if you're watching right now, I do want to say there are 745 of you, 130 of you on YouTube. We love you. If you're on Twitter and want to jump onto YouTube, that is the easiest way to support the boys. We get revenue. We can push it back into advertising our own podcast. Would love if you could jump on YouTube. Appreciate you guys so much. Marcus Williams, a lot of comments there. I can't get over Lamar Jackson, and I can't get over that end of game. It felt like fumble, the Ravens defense getting stops, forcing it to be a longer field goal, and Evan McPherson melting. So much to process. Taylor, as you're jumping in, give me your first takeaway here. We got to get you the rock here. But first takeaway from this game, my God, man, I'm drunk. I started drinking in the fourth quarter. I'm out of control. Taylor, take it away.
Started drinking in the fourth quarter.
Yes, I had drank every time they made a good play. I'm drunk.
Fair play.
My biggest takeaway, to be honest with you, is take away all sort of like the Ravens-based scar tissue that comes from this game. So like coaching decisions or whatever, all those things. Like I thoroughly enjoyed the Burrow versus Lamar second half. Just, hey, who's the dude for the entire second half? That to me, I wish I was a neutral fan watching it as opposed to a Ravens fan watching it. But that to me, despite the Ravens defense being particularly putrid throughout the second half and Cincinnati's defense being just as bad, watching those dudes just respond to each other, drive to drive to drive. If you're an NFL, I can't even talk, Spenny, I'm drunk. If you're an NFL fan, I don't think you could want anything more than that, and it was incredible. And I look, I don't have a ton of like big upsetness toward Joe Burrow. Like I don't have any, like, I don't hate the guy or whatever, he's popular in a variety of ways, but like that dude was awesome. And then Lamar said, all right, okay, I guess I'm going to have to also play at an MVP level. And then he did. And he flipped the switch because I think Banks, you tweeted it. Like that was Lamar's C-ish, B-ish game in the first half. And he saw Joe Burrow just out there kind of like having fun and just throwing TDs and throwing it around. And Lamar's like, all right, I'm just going to go do that now for the whole second half. And it's amazing that both those guys essentially pitched a perfect game in the second half, and the overtime, except for 2 plays. And it looked like Lamar's was going to be the more consequential one until the shenanigans with the field goal. And that brings me to my second takeaway. Jake, I could not agree with you more. What Zach Taylor is doing there with his all-pro quarterback playing as well as we've seen Joe Burrow play, and he's had some fantastic games in the NFL, but this was up there among the best. Taking the ball out of his hands when it's not as if you have to run the ball and bring clock down. The Ravens aren't.
Your guy Trent was calling it out too. He was like, you have Jamar Chase on Nate Wiggins 1-on-1. Like, take the shot, dude. Like,
if I'm the Ravens sideline, I'm saying, I can't believe this is happening. At least we can set up a 50-yard field goal, and Evan McPherson's got to go make it. They have the issues with the hold, and he misses. But if I'm Joe Burrow, I'm going into Zach Taylor's office or to him in the locker room after the game and saying, what are we doing? Like, let's just go beat him. This is our division rival. I'm not throwing another pick. That's Marlon Humphrey made a nice play. I made one bad throw. Like, give me the ball. You're giving it to give it to Chase Brown, who's a nice player. Played it.
This was the end of Zach Taylor. I just want to sidebar. They're 1-4. That's the end of Zach Taylor.
We have all these things with Harbaugh. If you're a Cincinnati fan, to sit there and set up a 53-yard, 51-3, whatever it was, I just cannot believe that happened. And if there's the Cincinnati version of the X52 podcast, has got to be losing their minds and doing 20 minutes about this, because like, they had that. I mean, that is what you want. Give it to your franchise quarterback. So shocking. So those are the 2 things for me. Takeaway. Obviously, we can get into the Ravens defense. It was terrible. They shredded the Ravens. Whatever. An incredible win. Lamar was amazing. The play, Houdini act to get the ball to Likely in the back of the end zone is, now going to be in all the edits people do of Lamar till the end of time. So that another one of that highlight reel. Ridiculous game. So Zach Taylor, that to me, like in the moment, I was like, sitting there with my parents, I watched this game. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. They're setting up a 54-yard field goal.
He makes it. He's a good kicker, but like, holy shit, why are you not even trying? Like,
I want to say one thing here and pass it off to the fellas. Mark, early 2021 ass game in the comments here.
Yeah.
And AFC North teams are like, oh, we got up by 10 points, have to make the Ravens throw. We watched them just quite not able to do it to the Chiefs. And the Ravens just kept making plays. Lamar Jackson kept making plays. Zay Flowers, tough catches. The one crazy catch bobbles into his lap. A little stroke of luck there. But this is not the Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens. They can play from behind. They came back on the Chiefs, almost won that game.
We never get them in this spot, right? They're never the hunters. They're always the hunted. They're always getting these big leads because partially their roster construction and partially because these guys are so good. And this coaching staff, I know we have our issues with them, but they know what they're doing for the most part. They can put a game plan together. And when you're in the top 5, top 7 teams in the league, you're going to have a lot of leads like that. And it definitely... They've probably had their issues independent of all that, with some of them, but it's maybe a little bit overblown. But to your point, like we just don't see him in this spot. And it's so special when you have a matchup like this with 2 guys in their absolute prime, because like you get it twice a year and you get it once a year with Allen and Mahomes. But how often do these guys go into games like this and they're just not on the same wavelength? Like one of them will have a much better game. One of them maybe is, going a little bit slower that particular week. This was just one where the pistols were just firing on both ends. I mean, it was just a nonstop onslaught. You mentioned the highlights. I mean, that shrugging Sam Hubbard off, which, by the way, Sam Hubbard, you can get absolutely fucked. Your season is over. Goodbye, sir. No, thank you. We're done. I hate Sam Hubbard. I just needed to get that out there right now. So seeing him get absolutely turfed on that play, Lamar Jackson hitting him with the Heisman, backpedaling. You think he's throwing it away. Nope. He's got the mind meld with Likely. 2 touchdowns for Likely in this game. That one was amazing. So that fumble in the jungle, you can celebrate it all you want. You can talk about it like it's the most fucking consequential play that's ever happened in the history of football. You did nothing with that, and you did nothing today, and we're done with you. It's over.
I do want to give some credit here. We have a comment here. What was Zoe doing? Game plan or players? The Ravens were simulating pressure. They were mugging the linebackers, trying to make Joe Burrow have to read through. The Bengals were reading it like a book. And you do have to give them a ton of credit. They understood where, all right, you're mugged up. You want to drop Roquan Smith off the line of scrimmage. That first T. Higgins touchdown is an example where Smith just couldn't get back. They knew exactly where his area needed to be. They knew who was coming and fire it behind T. Higgins. And I want to give Zoe credit because he adjusted. The players, I think, Marcus Williams had a really tough game, sold a little bit in that aspect, but he was like, all right, that's not working. I'm just going to start playing man and hope we can make a play. And they played man on that Marlon Humphrey interception. They got stops playing basic defense. He was like, they know what we're doing. I'm going to stop. He adjusted really well. I was really impressed with the ability to say, it's not working. We have to try something else. Just at the most base level. They switched what they were doing. They threw their game plan out. Bengals still moved the ball. Bengals had their backs against the wall. Joe Burrow said, I have to play a perfect game, and he almost did. But I was really impressed with Zach Orr just being like, no, it's not working. Let's get away from it. Let's play basic defense, simplify it for our guys, and see if we can make one big play. Marlon Humphrey makes that big play.
And they made the play and then, got the stop when they really needed to, and they had the chance to come down and win. And they Matabike makes an all-pro type of play. That's just him going and making a play when they needed to. So the defense was terrible.
He got a bucket. When you paid him $100 million,
Correct.
He got you a bucket.
Yep. You played ISO ball, and for sure. At the end of the stretch of the game. And then Zach Taylor gave him a stop at the end to allow him to force the field goal. But it was not pretty, but I agree with you, Spenny. Like down the stretch, it just got an inch to get enough. Like they got to where they needed to be enough to get the stops they needed at the end of the game, like quote unquote stops, to give the offense a chance.
Guys who made plays in this game: Rashad Bateman, legacy game, so good. Wins on that slant against
podium game for Rashad. You would think
huge game for Rashad, huge game for Nate Wiggins. You mentioned Marlon Humphrey makes a play at the end of the game. Matabike makes a play. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. You sign him for that run when you get the ball back. You pitch him the ball on the outside, and he wins you the game. He wins you the fucking game. It was unbelievable. So many guys made plays that they have paid, that they are counting on, guys that they have put their faith into, made so many plays. Ravens end up running for 175 yards in this game after being held to 57 yards in the first half. I think it was like 2.8 yards a carry, and they just figured it out. They adapted on both sides of the football, man, and it was awesome to watch.
to piggyback on that point, and also a little bit of what Jake said about being rarely the hunter, the Ravens. When was the last time like a game got off script and the Ravens got punched in the mouth, and then got into a whole like just completely off script game and went out and won it? It feels like the games they win and the big wins that they get are they play their kind of game, they control the game, they drive the clock to zero. Sometimes they make the big play at the end, but this was a total drunk game where things had totally spiraled out of control from what the game was supposed to be, and they just had to answer and come up with big plays time and time again, and that's what they did today. So I can't think of another game like the Colts comeback at home maybe a couple years ago. Like that was a weird one, but that was such a linear like just go fucking score 3 or 4 times and make a fuck ton of 2-point conversions kind of game. I don't know. Like there's so many opportunities that they had where they could have just sat down and taken it today, and they didn't.
I love this image that you're sharing, Jake. Look at the guy who might be practice squad, just like, oh,
you
no.
just that is death has come for me, and I can do nothing about it.
You hate to see it. Chiefs 2021 game. Oh my gosh, boys, what a win! I don't know if you have something, if you have water, if you have something. Oh my gosh, it doesn't get better than this. It does not. Fall is upon us. Baltimore is upon us. No beer is safe in Baltimore. My God, man, Lamar Jackson.
God damn it, dude! I fucking needed it after that Orioles playoff series, man.
I was gonna say, what a lift after the Orioles.
Lamar Jackson, 26 of 42, 348 yards, 4 touchdowns. Zay Flowers, 111 yards on 7 catches. Derrick Henry ends up finishing 6 yards a carry, 92 and a touchdown. My God, man. Jordan Stout with a couple nice punts. And just after that sequence at the end of the first half, it felt like, oh, it's a 1 o'clock game on the road against a divisional opponent that has to win this game. Overcoming it was something that makes you feel a little, it's early, but that's a little Team of Destiny vibes. My God, man, that was unbelievable. I don't even know. I'm not going to come down from this game for a while.
We also talked about this stretch of games after the 0-2 start and staring at the schedule and thinking like, oh boy, like, do you hope to get out of this at 2-3? And they rip off 3 straight wins. Obviously last week being the only one that was convincing, but I think, to be honest, the Cowboys and the Bengals games may mean more in terms of how they're going to deal with different situations. Finally didn't blow the lead down the stretch in the fourth quarter in that Cowboys game, and then for this game, as you all 3 of you guys have talked about, to respond to a clear situation where it felt like it was all running downhill for the Bengals throughout the second half, and just like, stand up and just say, you know what, we're just I'm not gonna let ourselves lose this game. And look, some fortunate things went their way to make that happen, but that's just kind of how the league goes. I mean, and you look across the 1 o'clock slate of games, I mean, it was pretty ridiculous across the board in a variety of ways. So, and now we don't need to go into next week necessarily yet, but now you set up what has become a very juicy game next week with our dear Commanders down the road. So,
and you make a great point there, Taylor, about this secondary, the issues they have, being able to get a win still, get out of it, make plays late, make winning plays. It does feel like they've lifted that bad spirit off their shoulder a couple times after, especially that Raiders game. So
we also talked about the receivers a little bit. Hard runs after the catch, like very hard.
Tylan Wallace chugging downfield.
Chugging guys.
Charlie Kolar.
Yep, Charlie Kolar did it. Like Mark Andrews continues to not look like maybe even 50% of himself. He's like, so they played tough today. Like there's a tough performance from that offense today. They just stayed with it, and I was thoroughly impressed by them throughout.
I think that Mike Tomlin comment, the Ravens will burn the house down, and it felt like they burned Paycor Stadium down instead. They had to play frantically. Lamar Jackson on the touchdown to Likely was one of the most spectacular plays.
Maybe he was complimentary. Maybe he was being complimentary. He didn't necessarily mean it was their own house.
Somebody's house is getting burned down, and today it was Paycor Stadium. They absolutely got into this insane game script. Kevin Durant put Flacco anywhere, and he's going to hoop. Oh, my God. Joe Flacco, 30-yard.
KD has some bangers. I mean, he has some absolute bangers on social. God, he's good.
Did they finish that game out? I've just been on a cloud.
No, the Jags hit a game-winning field goal, I think.
Hate that.
It was hard to pay attention to anything else, but like Kamimi Fairbairn made a 59-yarder to win the game. There's a lot.
Every time I looked at TV2, though, Flacco was throwing a bomb. And
He tied the
dude
game
on
with like a
Colts, the
65
dude on the
yard
Colts was
sack.
doing the step in like it's 2018.
Unbelievable. And I mean, the botch snap in overtime after driving down the field, getting into solid position. Of course, you know, McPherson misses that kick because the holder botches the snap, but the pressure was on. And my, oh my, man, this was just pie, oh my, we can say. We like to say that. Shout out Tony Soprano and shout out to the horsey. RIP pie, oh my. But my Lord, I just can't get over this game. I can't. And again, I tweeted, I think at one point, like after the botch snap, it was like, you can be mad. I understand you're going to be mad if they lose, but it was just madness. It was pure madness in that fourth quarter through overtime. I don't know, man. This is an all-time great game. Like all-time game.
It was. I mean, that's a great way. It was a great NFL game. Like it had pretty much everything.
Imagine just being a casual fan of the,
sure.
I don't know, the Packers or something, getting ready for your game. You have Red Zone on one TV and you're just like, what?
It didn't feel overly officiated either. That's another thing that I really want to like hammer home. It's like we get games like this when you keep the flag in your pocket a little bit more often, and it helps with the game flow. It makes it a much more watchable product, both in the stadium and on television. It felt like a game just being played to the absolute like highest level. Like that was true art.
With that said, we were staring down the barrel of a week of Mark Andrews missed face mask takes.
That's a great point.
Because I totally agree with you. I thought the game when the officials take the hands off the wheel enough and it doesn't get like ridiculous, I think those are the best type of games. You're never going to get an all-time game when teams combine for 20 penalties or 18 penalties or whatever. But that would have certainly been a week of takes for everybody, and I'm glad that that's not. I'm glad that and the Lamar drop snap are not going to be storylines. For the Ravens.
The hilarity of Mark Andrews being in bounds, trying to stay in bounds, looking to the ref while the play is still going. Like he is
his head around.
It ripped up.
He looked like a dog, like with his owner, like trying to get something out of his mouth. He's like going like this, and like he's got the hand like right in there. Poor Mark Andrews.
Roquan Smith finishes with 15 tackles. Brandon Stevens had his moments. I mean, people were kind of like, "Oh, he barely made that play on Higgins." I don't know. He was up in his grill, man. Burrow does underthrow that ball a little bit. He doesn't exactly have a rifle cannon, 60 mile per hour velocity at the combine, and throws up that bucket. And Brandon Stevens gets in the way a little bit. There was one defensive holding at one point in a key spot. The Ravens couldn't get off the field, man. What did the Bengals convert 8 straight third downs at one point? My God, they could not get off the field. I don't know. I have like goosebumps, chills. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. It was just nuts. It was just nuts to watch.
Another thing, 3 weeks ago, Lamar Jackson was requested to retweet Johnny. He retweeted Johnny in those 3 weeks. I think we all know the story.
Johnny, man. Johnny. I don't know. It was nuts. The safety happens at one point in the first half. We're not even going to think about that because there's so many crazy plays. The Tylan Wallace coming in for Deontay Hardy. Deontay Hardy's, of course, been the primary returner. Wallace is like, I'm going to let this one go. It gets you down to the 1. They try to run behind Rosengarten and Falele. Gets busted right into the backfield. Safety, just being able to pull yourselves out of the jaws of death in this game was truly nuts. And it did come down to the Evan McPherson missed kick, taking the ball out of Burrow's hands. And that's not what the Ravens did. They let Lamar Jackson make plays, kept putting the ball in his hands. Of course, they had to, but kept making plays. And this offense moved the ball. Zay, we mentioned the tough catches.
And it reminded me of that 2021. The guy mentioned 2021. It reminded me of that Vikings game where there were a million turnovers and went into overtime. Fuck, man. I remember watching that one the last day of the bachelor party, waiting to get on a plane. That was
some scaries there.
Not great for the cardiac. God. Yeah, but it worked out ultimately. So yeah, it reminded me a lot of that. But like, what doesn't remind me of that team very much is that like when they needed a guy, like you said, Spenny, they let Lamar go out there and make all the plays that he needed to make today. And Henry was bottled up for the most part, but when they needed Henry, man, they went right to him and he won them the game. And that is a massive difference between this team and that team, which I think was in retrospect pretty flawed, even though they managed to get to 8-3 or whatever they were at.
Heinz, Dompfier, hit the like button, people. Go ahead, subscribe on YouTube. We love you guys. We love it. Oh my God. Lamar Jackson, I just can't get over him. I can't get over him pushing the ball downfield the way he did. How angry he was too when they did that pump fake screen to Mark Andrews, left the ball so he couldn't score a touchdown there. He was so pissed for Mark. He knew Mark needed that. He's been defending Mark, on social media wherever he can. And Mark Andrews making tough plays, man. Makes tough plays downfield, ends up getting that kind of deep crossing route on the mesh concept, gets a bucket there. Just who didn't make a play, man? Flowers made plays, Bateman made plays, Andrews made plays, Lamar
Kohler.
Yeah, Kohler
makes big plays. KVN with huge head
he made on that 55-yard gain. When you are not, maybe I don't mean this to be mean, but maybe you're kind of been more of a blocking guy. You're not catching the ball downfield. He's not the most nimble dude. Ball was out here, out in front of him, and he was not an idiot on that. I want to give him a little credit. That was not the easiest catch in the entire world.
That's his one time to run that route every game. Too. Like he's not getting sent down the field.
We saw him in that Cowboys game, and when he was, rumbling and stumbling, looked like he was playing quap out there. This was maybe a little bit faster than that. So kudos to him. Really good game for Bateman too. I think we gotta mention some really nice hard-earned catches in there. Lamar Jackson is slippery as a raindrop. Another Kevin Harlan gem today. Which
Tyler
I know
Wallace made a couple big plays.
He did. Yeah, out of nowhere. I was wondering where Nelly was.
Nelly was a whole other thing.
That was weird.
The safety felt like it was 3 days ago, by the way.
Yeah. Yep.
The safety was also, and I don't know if this will make any sense. The safety was so shocking because earlier in the game when Henry trips and still gets to the end zone, I'm like, it's just inevitable this guy's getting 2 yards every time. It was like anything can happen and he's going to figure out a way. And then safety happened probably 45 minutes later. He's I mean, if you're an agent for a running back and you're trying to make a case of why teams should pay a running back, I mean, that's the case right there. Obviously nobody is like him, but it's just a total difference maker in every single way. You talked about Harlan, Jake. I mean,
Kevin Harlan comes to call Ravens games in Cincinnati,
he throws him off like a rag doll in the middle of that Lamar ridiculous play where he threw Hubbard off. Like he just gets that in off the cuff. He's one of the best that does it. I mean, he's just so good. And Trent Green's good. RDT was randomly started riding for Trent Green in our group chat out of absolutely nowhere. But he is right. Good. I do like Trent Green.
I might be a little hungover too, honestly, because I saw that. I was like, oh, there's Taylor talking about Trent Green. We'll get into that on the podcast. I'm surprised that was RDT and very amused by that, to be honest. RDT.
Like we had barely texted anything during the whole game. Sometimes this podcast text during the game. Sometimes it's just all sound and we're watching our own different ways.
When it's a away game and we're all watching
I was dialed on this game. This game was
So Banks, you just threw in there like, what are we doing for the instant analysis? When should we do it? And RDT just out of absolutely nowhere. Trent Green's awesome in the booth. Always has been. It's like
I had my finger on the trigger for a what the fuck is Harbaugh doing not sending JT out for the coin flip tweet. And then KVN just bangs it home with the heads. Huge heads.
That was, I wanted no one else. I don't know what this is in my brain. I wanted no one else to call the coin toss. When I knew he went up there, I was like, there's no way Kyle Van Noy isn't about to bang this coin toss. I don't know what it is. He's
been on the side of a lot of lucky wins. Let's just say it that way with some of the teams he's played for in the past. So yeah, you got to use that mojo when you can.
Looking at the big plays in this game overall, when we go into the NFL GSIS, there were so many plays that were beyond 10 yards. When you look at something like this, there's never this amount of yardage plays.
Got to work on our data viz here a little bit. Got to get some more spicy kind of, aesthetics.
I noticed, by the way, live analysis. Geno Stone made the tackle on Derrick Henry there inside the 10, but he gave up on the play. I don't know if you watched a replay, but he gave up. And then him cutting back and getting slowed down a little bit got Geno back into the play. He was like, Derrick Henry's past me. It's over. That was his mentality. To 31st down.
Maybe he thinks he's washed.
Joe DeMartin talking about finger guns. Don't do that in college football, baby. Getting 15.
Yeah.
Getting 15. Brandishing a weapon.
Or if you're Drake London against the Eagles a couple weeks ago.
Did he? I did not see that.
Well, he didn't do finger guns. He did like a AR-15, like into the crowd.
Well, so the kid for South Carolina today, machine gun Jackson Dart. That was about as much of a penalty as you're gonna get.
520 total yards, wagon.
That chart you just put up, Spenny, was like all those plays happened during the game. You remember them, but to see them kind of put together like that was like all coming back.
You do
Zay
lose
Flowers,
track.
he was so impressive in this game, getting buckets, playing. That's what you looked at Boston College. That's why you draft in the first round. He's a smaller dude, whatever, but going and getting buckets, making tough catches time and time again showed why he is. Steve Smyth was like, he reminds me of me. That reminds you of Steve Smith, does it not? Does it not remind you? He's kind of quit early on. He was doing the dancy, jumping back so that he could go try and get 5 more yards and go around. Today, he was decisive. Brian, I think you touched on it earlier. The receivers were just plowing forward. They're making sure to shore up catches. There wasn't big drops out of this receiving group. And all 3 tight ends making plays. It was just insane. Joe DeMartin here, casual hurdle of Geno Stone was just
amazing. Amazing sideline awareness by Zay too. Like the guy just knows where he is at all times and knows how to get his feet down. Like that's something that you see these other great receivers do. For whatever reason, the Ravens just have never been able to find guys that are, that switched on in that aspect. So nice to see today, and it really helped them.
I also just think it plays to his skill set better to make the first decisive move as opposed to playing that game where he starts skipping around. Like you just if you can make the first move and in the right direction, like then his quickness plays as he gets down the field, as opposed to trying to like break the. I don't know. I think that's a great point, Spencer. Like he was just decisive and showed some physicality too, and I think that'll garner him. Guys will realize that they can't just kind of just wrap him up easily. Like you got to bring him down. The Ravens
to make the first move, and then you're in his wheelhouse where he can then use his quick twitch ability. Bateman on third down, I love that he put such a clean release. He could have tried to run through the catch there too, pick up yards after the catch. Instead, he was like, nope, I am grabbing this ball and getting a first down. I don't care what happens after. I'm just going to make sure I bring that ball in. Such a good performance out of these pass catchers overall, making plays late as they needed, and just shows a balanced group. And again, people are going to talk about the negative game script, can't throw to come from blah, 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 blah. That's all over. It's dead now. This was the death of talking about that they can't throw from behind, all of those things. They were apex predators from behind time and time and time again. And the fumbled snap in overtime, they went right down the field before that. They were just chunking down the field in overtime over and over and over again. So it's awesome to see those guys build confidence. Bateman continue to build confidence and know that they can play that way. I think that gives you confidence as a play caller. Todd Monken was in his bag. The Justice Hill early screen, throwing the ball to the outside a little bit, getting likely involved, all those kinds of things was incredible to see. Tylan Wallace blocking his tail off. Justin Avery here in the comments. That has been the biggest thing, and especially after the initial reactions that they signed Derrick Henry and they get stuffed up by the Chiefs, who are such a good defense. Then against the Raiders, it wasn't this explosive thing. Oh no, I'm leaving. I'm done.
Yes.
Revisiting
this is the most recent one.
No, I think this was a preseason, maybe. Caleb timing.
I love this thing. I cannot believe Trevor Lawrence is
and Desmond Ridder on it.
It's the Prince.
Oh, man.
Kenny Pickett.
Oh God, that's incredible.
I love the Mahomes Mountains.
Baker Mayfield down on the bottom, Purdy on the bottom. My Lord, Daniel Jones above.
Look at Caleb Williams.
Oh, he's climbing. He's climbing the mountain.
Good game for Caleb Williams today.
Baby Mahomes.
Oh my God.
The pain of the Panthers getting torched by Caleb Williams and him having his big moment in the NFL for the first time as they traded all those picks for Bryce Young. Oh my God, just pain. Crazy NFL games. Not a ton of games. First bye week too. A lot of craziness going on, like we mentioned. The Jags-Colts game coming down to the end. The Texans blow the lead, end up being able to kick the long field goal. Just nuts. Nutty day in the NFL. This is what we love football for. This is why we like this stuff.
Where else would you rather be? Who's got it better than us?
Nobody who has red zone or doesn't have red zone has it better than us. If you have red zone, this is a great day to have red zone. Not too many games. You can kind of see it all unfold.
Banner day for Hansen. Hansen was checking into this game a lot.
Of course.
Yeah.
Great day of football. Great day of Lamar Jackson. Great day of the Ravens. Great day of overcoming. Nobody here we got from Arnold Adams. And man, people came in a little later. I really was disgusted with the end of the first half. They gave the Bengals 4 timeouts. The 2-minute warning, they get a playoff early for no reason. I didn't really understand that. You end up going for it on 4th down, which Banks, I know you love. Shout out to Stern. They do the Kohler Express, push it forward, get to 3rd and 10, and then they decide to call a timeout before that 3rd and 10 was just – it was them being in fear, and them meaning Harbaugh being in fear. Oh, If the Bengals get the ball back and kick a field goal and then get the ball back and score a touchdown, you enabled that to happen. You enabled all of those things. You enabled them to be more aggressive on that final drive before the half, that Jamar Chase touchdown. I thought it was terrible, man. I thought it truly was terrible.
Yeah, that was kind of the moment where you could feel the momentum swing back, because the Ravens, I mean, we haven't even really talked about the fact that they opened this game with a crisp, clean kind of drive it right down the field, eat a bunch of clock, punch the ball in there with Henry for the first touchdown of the game. Then you get a stop and you're kind of like, all right, are they going to start to run away with this a little bit? And then obviously that was a botch job, to your point. Like they gave him that fourth timeout effectively. You punt it back to them, and whether it was Chase or whether it was McPherson kicking one there, that's always going to cost you. Like it shouldn't be that situationally hard to manage these situations. And it seems like we're just going to have to keep having this conversation. I don't really understand, but it just feels like this was way more dialed in. You mentioned Stern back in like 2019, and that was 5 years ago at this point. Do we need another Stern? Does Stern need to be, I shouldn't say Wally pipped, but do we need to maybe get the pipeline fresh? Maybe get a new young management guy to come in there. Maybe bring back a Jerry Rossberg type. I don't know. I'm struggling for the answers.
Nobody better than Stern. Nobody better than Stern.
I'm glad it didn't bite them today.
Another interesting part of this, should the Ravens have gone for 2 on some of those late touchdowns? No, don't. When you keep moving the ball, no, this was momentum to me, and we're coming back around, it feels like, on momentum and running backs. No, do not take the wind out of the sails. Do not put more pressure on. That's why that's like one of the situations why Marcus Peters flipped out on John Harbaugh. Just let your defense make a play. Marlon Humphrey makes the play. Keep it rolling. Just keep it rolling and see if your guys can outlast their guys at this point. It's a divisional opponent. That goes into the Mike Tomlin burning the house down. Don't take the wind out of the sails there when you're rolling and rolling and rolling. They just needed their defense to get off the field once or twice. Matabike, Marlon Humphrey, massive plays from your highest paid defensive players. My Lord. Roquan Smith making so many tackles. Kyle Hamilton looked like the Millennium Falcon. Feels like he's gotten a little healthier than he was to start the year. Coming downhill, making plays in space. The RPO at the very beginning of the game, too. Hamilton just comes off, jumps, makes himself 10 feet tall in Burrow's face, makes Burrow have to tuck the ball. Man, so much. Nate Wiggins making plays, just everybody, man. Everybody making plays, except for kind of those back-end safeties. Marcus Williams, tough day. Eddie Jackson, tough day. The second T. Higgins touchdown, they move Higgins across the formation. Nobody goes with him. You can see Jackson and Marcus Williams being like, they're communicating like, who's got him? Just a free touchdown there. So, stuff to work out still, but you're lucky and glad as a coach in ways where you're like, we won, we made some plays late, we have a lot to work on. I think Harbaugh was talking about that on Wired and stuff, that there's still so much, they're still not in their final form, all of those things. And I do, again, I'm not mad at Zach Orr. He was running the same kind of stuff that Mike McDonald was running with the pressures, the creepers, getting the linebackers mugged up on the line of scrimmage, and the Bengals had a plan for it. They needed to. This was the most locked in the Bengals could have possibly been offensively, and you were able to overcome them. So it was fun to watch.
I'm not going to answer.
Sure. Breaking news.
We all went silent.
We're all just reading. Yeah, breaking news.
That is really good. That was really good radio right there.
For the podcast listeners.
Yeah, podcast listeners.
One of the craziest plays as well was when the Bengals went for 2 at the end of the half. Kyle Hamilton gets the little holding. Sure, you can throw that. And then runs the ball like 175 yards to get down to the 20. They're gassed. Kyle Hamilton just laying down like in the longest yard. I can't remember the dude's name. Laying down in the field like, can of corn and a Diet Coke. I'll be fine. Just dead after that play.
It's just beer. It's just beer. It's just beer.
I will say, so Spenny doesn't have to do it every single time. I mean, that silence right there is why you should watch on YouTube. Like and subscribe to the pod. There's no better way than to watch our faces here on YouTube. You would be able to see the Mahomes Mountain. You're not going to see that if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. So make sure to like and subscribe. I will say, I have brought up this week's Mahomes Mountain. I can't put it on because I'm not logged in. But Lamar is in rung 2 with Jaden Daniels.
Okay. Oh, good. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. That's big for him.
On the level below that is Josh Allen, CJ Stroud, and Burrow. Then Stafford, Geno Smith, Jared Goff, and Baker. And then Jordan Love, Purdy, Sam Darnold, who was terrible today, Justin Herbert, and Dak.
Nick had the
Aaron Rodgers off the Mahomes Mountain. He was also
no, I hate that.
Terrible today.
Nick had the he had the take that, of course, I trust Joe Burrow more in this game, like that was circulating on the on Ravens X this week. And Nick Wright, very talented. I enjoy him.
I mean, the Mahomes Mountain's a great gimmick. It's a great game. Jaden Daniels RB number 2. I cannot wait for this game next week. I mean, the Commander fans could not be riding any more high, as they should. And here they come to the team that they've had to sort of watch have way more success over the last 20 years, right down the road. Should be very, very fun.
Yep. It's already starting up within my my college contingent. The plans are being made. They're coming up. They're coming up 95. It's gonna be a good one.
The sequel is the Thursday night game in like mid-November. Can we run back the All Blacks?
I think you can do it twice a year.
Can we
double again?
I think you're allowed alternates 3 times, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know if all that's out the window.
But they have purple. They have purple announced for one game, right? So does that take out?
That might be the game. They may be doing the purple helmet for that game, which I don't know if I love that.
No, I don't love that helmet to begin with. So
yeah. That's going to be an
anything
awesome
else? Anything else?
I feel like there's so many bangers on the schedule.
It is the purple. Is Purple Rising is the Bengals game.
Purple there, nothing.
Purple there, nothing more.
Purple Rising.
So we will be in the purple, in that game. That's
nice.
Wow.
Did we talk about the purple helmet? Did we have a long conversation? You don't like it, Jake?
I don't love it. No, it's a little too. There's a little too much going on.
Yeah,
a little too new agey, kind of trying to appeal to these Gen Z TikTok kind of woke mind virus kids. I'm not into that. I like a classic kind of clean look. So.
Yeah. Alabama's uniforms are your favorites.
I would like
unironically Alabama, Penn State. Like these are what speak to my heart.
Yeah,
I would like it with white jerseys and purple pants. I think that would look fantastic.
Yeah,
but not a huge fan of the black purple top. I don't.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think the helmet's cool. I do think the helmet isolated is cool.
I would agree. I think that's the I think the purple is just a lot. Just a lot.
Jaden Daniels coming to town, man. The Commanders have been a little bit of a wagon, putting the hurting on Deshaun Watson and the Browns. Just unbelievable. My guy, Cliff Kingsbury. I'm going to say it. I think the Ravens are going to put them in the torture chamber. Rookie quarterback. I think Jaden Daniels is great. I don't love Cliff Kingsbury. I think it's going to be tough at home. And I think the Ravens are going to lay it on the Commanders a little bit.
I would love nothing.
He's going to have trouble with the internal pressure there. Like Matt BK is going to be in his face all day.
I think so. We'll get to that later this week. Great rushing team. Ravens somehow finished with 176 yards rushing. Somehow, some way. I'm going to say it. I was going to save this too. I think the Ravens are the greatest rushing team of all time. I think the 2024 Ravens are the greatest rushing team in the history of football. And I usually don't speak outside of my conscious life. Like we'll call that maybe 2000 to today. I've never seen anything like this. I think it puts so much. The Bengals did the best thing they could have done. Load the box, blitz, make the receivers make plays, which they did. I think this game kind of proves they will still get buckets. They will still make plays. You can't just do it that way. But I don't know if there's a better way to try to play them. I think the Bengals played them the most effective way you can. Try and make anything else happen. And they still got
38 points. 38 points in regulation.
Exactly. You still get drummed. And the Bengals don't have, we talked about in the preview, they don't have these apex predators on the back, in the secondary. They don't have a Kyle Hamilton. They don't have an Antoine Winfield. They don't have these rangy, dynamic safeties that come up and make life hell on you. So they tried to get the football out of Derrick Henry's possibility and wheelhouse. And man, Justice Hill, tough runs. Justice Hill's had such a good season. I think he's a little bit of that answer too. They were going no huddle, getting Justice Hill involved. I think he had one little drops, one weird little thing. Zay had one weird little drop at the end there, but man, just.
Oh yeah. And Keaton Mitchell might come back at some point.
He will. He will be back in the second half of the season. They've been slow rolling his recovery, making sure he'll come back. So all accounts are that he's good. His recovery was clean. The injury was clean, everything like that. Hopefully he can get the GPS back up to 22 miles an hour. And that just adds another layer of hell to defensive coordinators, linebackers, and safeties. Insane. I genuinely think they're the best rushing team of all time. Derrick Henry at the end of the game.
They're approaching the streak again that they set, a couple of years ago when Vic Fangio went to the press conference and buried Harbaugh for not kneeling that ball out. He thought it was so disrespectful, and yeah, we had a lot of fun with that. So we're approaching that record again. I hope they come up into a similar situation. Is Fangio a DC right now? I really hope it's against whatever team he's
think of
coaching.
the Eagles.
Working on that already. Hold on.
I think it is the Eagles, right?
Eagles.
Yeah,
Okay. So,
he's the Eagles DC. We have him on the schedule.
We have them on the
schedule.
Yes, we do.
oh Lord. Yeah. Gotta get that.
How many more do they need, Jake?
I think 3 or so.
It'll be against the Steelers. When they play the Steelers the first time, that's when they would break the record. The Steelers are the ones that have the record or are tied for the record still or whatever it is.
Wow. Talk about a story that they'll be putting out on the marquee. Get people to tune in.
Yeah. I'm into it.
No love lost.
And again, the question here, a lot of people are going to be looking at the defense, rightfully so. I really think the Bengals studied so long, so hard, and gave everything they've got. It's a divisional opponent, right? They're studying you all offseason. You're going to play them twice. They understood where the blind spots would be. I go back to that first Higgins touchdown again. They knew Roquan wouldn't be able to be lined up at the line of scrimmage and get back to that slant from Higgins. So the Ravens ended up adjusting. I thought it was a terrible performance from Eddie Jackson, from Marcus Williams, some of those deeper safeties. Marcus Williams had a really tough year so far. The one-armed man is two-armed, and we'll give him a little bit of grace and see what he can do, but had a really tough year. Probably the toughest year of anyone on the Ravens so far, I'd say. And another thing that came to my mind, Collier, the running back, who had his final elevation, the kickoff, where he tripped on the ball and kicked it out of bounds at the 6-yard line, just another element of madness that will be forgotten in this game. Just another crazy thing that happened in this game.
Special teams.
Put that on the flip side, Lamar overcame that and just drove him down the field like it didn't matter.
The first time
to open that drive.
The first time you have the punt thing, and then obviously you get stoned in the end zone for a safety there. But that second time, you're right, they overcame that. I mean, and I kind of at that point in the game felt pretty confident that every time he touched the ball, they could take it all the way down the field. And he rewarded my faith, which was nice.
Yeah, they have played more dime this year. They have kicked Kyle Hamilton into the box a little bit more and wanted him to make some plays over the middle of the field for sure, and trying to get more DBs. I think a lot of that is matchup dependent, though. We've seen Trenton Simpson play 100% of snaps. We've seen him play like 60% of snaps, which I think he was at again for the second straight week. So if they're playing a team where they fear their ability to push the ball and have a good pass game, it's going to be a little bit more dime, it feels like. And last year with Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith, they didn't want to take those guys off the field. They're such a dynamic duo. Queen in the pass rush game, and he's had a tough year in Pittsburgh, but they didn't want to take those two off. A little bit more matchup dependent, I think. And today you ask the question, is that a great idea? Do we want to kind of calm things down and have Trenton Simpson on the field and get Kyle Hamilton back there and play a little bit more rolling coverage into some middle of the field close stuff, cover 3, cover 1, all those kinds of things. So that's a big picture thing that you want to look at after this game. And man, just after that Jamar Chase first play of the drive screen, they block it up okay. Runs past Marcus Williams. It just felt like that was unbeatable. It felt like you were dead at that point. And somebody mentioned 2021 earlier. It just feels like this team has been there so many times, had these different kind of situations arise, and being able to overcome it was insane.
Marlon Humphrey has left the locker room in a walking boot. He did not speak to the media.
Well, that's not good.
Who did?
Marlon.
Huh.
Interesting. Let's keep an eye on that Instagram account tonight. Taylor, I'm going to give you a tune in. Listen to the Instagram live, listen to all the talk to us about, and look at all the dirty looks. And if it's still a thing, to your point there.
Did Marlon redeem the right to do an IG live on the flight home with the pick?
And everyone's trashing him. I'm sorry. T. Higgins made the one play that was on him and he got called for holding. I don't really recall anything crazy other than that. And that wasn't even crazy. It was like a 15-yard out route on third down. T. Higgins got a bucket and he held a little bit.
It's also, they gave up so much. You can't single out like one of the corners today for, I mean,
yeah, I mean, it was
a million passing yards.
I didn't notice him playing poorly necessarily. He's just under the microscope. He brings it on himself a little bit, but he's been playing really well this year. And hopefully that's not a long-term injury.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so too. He's been, I think, very good on balance. Some people are coming after him, but I mean, a couple of picks this year, and it seems like he's rounding back into form that he had maybe lost a little bit recently due to injury. So that would be tough, but overall, I think Stevens has played pretty well throughout the year, too. You're just playing against the monsters with these guys, man. And fucking Gesicki's a problem, too. He can get out in space. He can go over top of you. Very annoying with the celebrations. Just an absolute pest, Mike Gesicki.
Penn State guy, stunner.
Yeah, we are, right? We are jackasses. And he certainly falls into that camp. And yeah, so, it's just a tough draw. And like we've been saying, Joe Burrow was just on another level for the most of today, but then Marlon really came through for them there in a big way. So yeah, we hope everything's good there. I will be locked into that IG live if and when it comes.
If and when. Arthur Mollett should be coming back soon as well.
Yeah.
I think he had a setback this week, so maybe that's not next week or the next couple weeks. So hopefully he is able to come back and be another piece. Ardarius Washington, I think, needs to be on the field more than Eddie Jackson at this point. And Marcus Williams is struggling on the back end. So time to self-assess, see what you can do. You're going to give those guys some grace in a couple weeks to continue calibrating. It is still very early in the season, but the Bengals push you to their limit and broke you in ways that hopefully you can respond from, understand from, and that just end a half touchdown. I think Chase was probably the number one in the slot and just ran across the field, and just that's where your weakness of your zone coverage is, and let him run right through it. And Marcus Williams can't hang with him. Straight up, Jamar Chase, one of the best. And Marcus Williams not playing like one of the best, and you hope to not have that situation. I will give Zach Taylor some credit that it took him a couple years to really start trying to get Chase on linebackers and safeties and not be a Kingsbury and just sit him on the outside and not bring him in motion, all those kinds of things. But yeah, it was not a great day for him. Whew. Tough day for those guys. But man, I mean, what was the drives like in the end of this game? I'm trying to look through the game script here. It went touchdown Bengals, touchdown Ravens, touchdown Bengals, touchdown Ravens on the Kohler, then touchdown Ravens on the likely play, they get a stop on the interception. Justin Tucker hits the game-tying field goal. So it went touchdown, 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 interception, field goal in the second half. Nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Yeah, the Bengals are addicted to playing games where they just don't punt.
Truly.
They got to get that cardio up. They got to really start hitting the treadmill there. True track.
And Dan Hamp with a good comment. They've played CeeDee Lamb, they've played Jamar Chase and Higgins, and some real Rashee Rice early in the year, Devontae Adams week 2. Tough stretch. The Bills didn't have that, and surprise, surprise, couldn't really move the ball. So I will say right now, I would continue hammering bets. I took Jamar Chase to have over 70 yards today. Wide receiver ones have given the Ravens issues. They're figuring out ways to get them over the middle of the field and do all those things, and the Bengals continue to push that. So that's an issue where you have to look inward and figure out how maybe it's playing a little more man coverage and relying on those corners instead of the safeties. And a lot of comments about Brandon Stevens getting torched. I don't think he got torched. I think he was in tight coverage and he had a really good game against Jamar Chase last year. Has the early PBU on T. Higgins, which again was a little bit of an underthrown ball. But yeah, I think Stevens and Humphrey played solidly. We'll go back, we'll look at the tape, all that stuff. But I'm not looking at those guys as issues.
Yeah, neither am I. I think they'll figure it out ultimately too. Hopefully a little bit of an easier draw as they go forward. I know Terry McLaurin's a lot to deal with, and obviously they're doing some special things offensively with Washington. But yeah, just everyone's going to need a little bit of a come down from this game. This was a big spot, a high leverage spot. It puts the Ravens in great position. It hopefully buries the Bengals in a serious way. And yeah, you can go from there. Anybody else got any more takes here before we get on out of here?
Lamar Jackson, back-to-back weeks playing Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions, and has been outstanding.
Tough day.
Mahomes mounting that.
Tough day for Bills fans today who make their entire personality thinking about Lamar Jackson for reasons that escape me.
Wherever you are, well, Bengals punter is not enjoying a nice life. He ruined that kick in overtime, and that was why it was missed. It was a terrible hold. Was the snap? I don't know. I did no look. Something I do. I plug my ears.
It didn't seem like it was a bad snap. He caught it clean and then just put it.
He remote it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think it was on the snap.
Could have been a not perfect. Could have been a 91 out of 100 snap or something, but he just botched it. It looked like he just botched it.
Yeah, I think he botched it. I think he just botched it.
Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Head over to the YouTube if you can. Would love to have you guys there. If you're on Twitter, many more people on Twitter. You can head over to YouTube, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Man, 3-2, the hard way, the very, very hard way.
Yeah, I did not see this coming. I'll be the first to admit it. Honestly, great call by the haters. I am that hater, and it was a bad call by me. I thought at 0-2 after that Raiders loss really kind of broke my spirit there a little bit. Didn't have too much high hopes for the season. I don't know how high my hopes will necessarily be Super Bowl wise, this, that, and the other. But overall, they're just in a good spot because hope is a good thing. may be the best of things, and a good thing never dies. And I've learned that. I've learned my lesson here with these Baltimore Ravens in that way. Thank you all for listening, tuning into the show, however you chose to do so. But like Spenny said, we prefer it on YouTube. So go ahead and leave us a like, a comment, share it with your friends, share it on social media, share it on your X account. If you want to follow us on X, it's at Exit52 Podcast. I am at Jake Louque. That's LOUQUE. Spenny's at Ravens for Dummies. That's the number 4. Taylor at Taylor Smyth 10. Brian at Barstool Banks. And Eric at EDITTI22. You can also find us on Instagram at Exit52 Podcast. All that good stuff. Yeah, shout out to our presenting sponsors, Jimmy's Famous Seafood, Fed Thrill Sunglasses, Black Eyed Susan Spices, all the homies. We appreciate everything that they do for us. And like I said, we appreciate you guys. And after this rollicking contest of a football game that I think we all need a cigarette after, I'm going to go have one myself. We will talk to you guys very, very soon.
Go read Brian's post-game recap thoughts on barstool.com. Go check those out as well.
On barstool.com. That's right.